everyone, and welcome to Tome of Uselessness. I'm Dan, just doing a little solo recording here, and I'm going to talk about Dune 2021. And the main reason I felt like I should, but I wanted to kind of do this is because if you scroll back through our feed or whatever, I did a Dune talk, I think I called it, episode, where after the movie was canceled because of the pandemic, I was disappointed. And so I just kind of wanted to do something and talk about Dune. And so I thought I should come back here, and I've seen the movie and just kind of talk a bit about what I thought about the movie. And, you know, there's been some, I think it was shown at some festivals and some earlier screenings and stuff like that. And there was a lot of positive reviews. And I still managed to avoid a lot of pre-information about the movie. The story is not unfamiliar to me. I've read the Dune books many times. I think I mentioned that before. So it wasn't like I was going to be surprised by the story, but I was very interested and really wanted to see what Denis Villeneuve was going to do. And just like with this modern technology and his eye in these grander sci-fi kind of tales, what it was going to look like. I guess I'll just, right out of the bat, I enjoyed the heck out of this movie. It was long. I think it's clocked in at 2:35, but I had that experience like I've had in a few movies and stuff like that where I knew it was long and I could feel that it was long, but I didn't want it to end. I just wanted the story to continue because I was just so engrossed and enjoying it so much. And again, because I know the story, I know that there's more of the story to tell. And so I was just kind of like looking forward to more. That's what was odd. I guess it was smart or not smart that it's Dune and then it literally says like part 1, like when the title comes up. But when you look up, like there's no confirmed sequel, like it's pre-production. So hopefully, yes, it's happening. I assume it's going to happen. But it's just weird because, of course, the pandemic and all the actors are going to be older because they didn't film them back to back. So I don't know. It's just, I guess there could be positives and negatives to both those aspects. But yeah, before going into anything too spoilerish, again, I mean, it's Dune. The story's been around forever. But yeah, I liked the production design. I liked the cast. I liked the scale of everything, which goes back to the production design. But like everything felt grand, but not in a way where it was like, oh, look how big this thing is. It was like, no, this ship is big and it's huge, and it really, lends to that oppressive feeling that it's supposed to give you and everything like that. So yeah, just really good. Of course, the cinematography was beautiful, and I felt like, right, like, I know this is a meme, right? Like, when you talk about vistas, right? Like Rogue One and Rise of Skywalker and other blockbusters as well. It's like, oh, look at these vistas, but there's either too much noise or you just don't care because you don't care within the story. But here, he mixes it up, of course, but it's like there are so many shots where it's just one person against this backdrop or one person taking up the whole frame, and it's like a lot of their face, and it's great. It worked so well, and it just lets you kind of be engrossed and feel what these characters are feeling in a different way. So yeah, before I continue to ramble on, I guess, too much about stuff I liked, director Denis Villeneuve, he didn't write it solely. It was kind of interesting. There was a John Spaihts, or Spy, it's Spaihts, Spaihts, but probably wrong, and Eric Roth joined him. Both have written some, either Oscar-winning or well-received critically movies, and I was surprised. I really enjoyed the score throughout the movie. I thought it was really good, and was really lent itself to that epic feel. And then I found out right at the end, music by Hans Zimmer, and I was like, oh, of course. And it's interesting because when I was looking that up, is that he didn't work on Tenet because he wanted to do the score for Dune. He's apparently a big fan of Dune and jumped at the chance to do the project, because it was weird when I saw No Time to Die, he also did the score for that, which I was really surprised at because it didn't seem like his kind of a picture, but, he's out there trying different things, and, like Tenet's very much like almost like a James Bond in a way, so it's like he did score a Bond film, sort of. But yeah, I enjoyed his score. I really enjoyed, like I said, I enjoyed the cast. I'm just going to say, again, from here on out, anything I say might end up being a spoiler, so just, if you haven't seen Dune or are unfamiliar with the story, definitely check it out. But yeah, Timothée Chalamet, he played Paul, and I don't know anything about this guy, but I thought he did a really good job. Like, a lot of the movie rests on him and on his mother, who's Rebecca Ferguson, Lady Jessica, who I really have enjoyed in a lot of movies recently. I don't know, again, too much of her work, but like, I've liked her in the Mission Impossible movies, and here and there when she pops up, I'm always like, oh, there's Rebecca Ferguson. And I really enjoyed her performance in this. It was really interesting that they really focused a lot on Paul and Jessica, not shockingly, but like a lot more on Jessica and like her kind of like motherly protectiveness and really like the pain and anguish that she's going through with trying to protect him but also raise Paul into the figure he's got to be, and while at the same time losing Duke Leto, played by Oscar Isaac, who I really enjoyed. And it's just unfortunate because of the story we don't get a lot of Leto. And like I said, because of the focus between Paul and Jessica, we just didn't get a lot of time with Jessica and Leto with Rebecca Ferguson and Oscar Isaac. There was, a couple scenes and one scene before the big attack, but I was hoping for a little more there. But I did like a lot of the stuff with Oscar Isaac interacting with a lot of the other characters. I thought that was really good. He really carried off. I was like, yeah, he's sci-fi Duke. Jason Momoa plays Duncan Idaho, who is like, it's interesting because so many of these characters, essentially, the only one of them who dies is Oscar Isaac, and throughout the movie. But like, so many of them come back, especially if you've read Dune and the later stories and stuff like that. So Duncan Idaho is a prominent figure in the Dune series, and Jason Momoa was really good. I thought it was interesting because he is one of the characters that's a little more lighthearted in the story, and he kind of pulled that off here, where he was more camaraderie with Paul. He's his sword master, so. And then eventually we get some cool fight scenes there where we got to see some stuff that usually is either brushed aside or not really kind of focused on, but I thought it was really good. I thought he did a really good job, and it was just neat to see him in a different role. So I didn't know, which I've said before, like I didn't know Stellan Skarsgård played the Baron Harkonnen, and they clearly, I assume it's a mix of CG and prosthetics or pure CG, one of the two, but his face worked so well in the whatever they created for the Baron look that he still looks like the classic Baron, like from the older Dune movies or the sci-fi miniseries. I don't know, there was just something more about his presence and the way it was shot, and he was very imposing and very intimidating, and he was sort of less boastful than previous interpretations, which was kind of, it was cool. It was just different, and he was creepy, and I really enjoyed his performance, and if they do more, I'm looking forward to seeing more. Let's see, and then Stephen McKinley Henderson played Thufir Hawat, and I'm sure he's an actor I've seen many times before, but I most recently remember him from Devs, which I really enjoyed him in that show, and I thought he was good here too. It's again, because the focus is so much on the main character, surprise, we don't get a lot of them, but the time we do get with these people, I really enjoyed, and I liked their performances. Josh Brolin, who plays Gurney Halleck, and he was intense, and I really liked it, because he's trying to challenge Paul and set him up for what's to come, and his backstory is that he used to live on Getty Prime, or a Harkonnen homeworld. I'm not 100% on that at this moment. But anyway, he escaped, and so he really hates them, and it really came through, and the scene of the attack, and he's leading the troops to try to fight them off and everything like that was great. I really enjoyed Josh Brolin in the role. Again, looking forward to seeing more. That's just the problem, is that I really enjoyed these performances. I just wanted to see more. Javier Bardem as Stilgar, great casting there. When he first rocks up and then takes off his mask, and I was like, is that Javier Bardem? But because he's like really covered, and he's kind of got a beard sort of going on, and it was just such a different performance than I've seen him in the last little bit. He was good. Sharon Duncan Brewster plays Dr. Liette Kynes, and she's the, judge of the change and planet climatologist. Basically, she's playing like two different things in that she's been paid off by the Emperor to say nothing about the whole scheme, but also after meeting Paul and Leto and them, she's like realizes that maybe she could have thrown in her lot with these guys, which she kind of does near the end, pays the price for it. But yeah, I liked her as well. I don't know her from many things. A gentleman, Chen Chang, played Dr. Yue. I liked his performance again because not a lot of screen time, but the time they have and the lines they get and the way they're delivered, you believe and you understand where they're coming from. Dave Bautista, he plays the Beast Raban, and it was funny because when he goes to Getty Prime after being kicked off of Arrakis, I was kind of expecting that they would do like the David Lynch Dune and have both Raban and oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his name? Fade, that was his name. Fade Rusa. I thought that they were going to do the same thing where it would be both, but it was just, we only saw the Beast, Raban. So I guess a casting they could do later. Not a lot of time with Dave Bautista. He is similar to, I guess, to Blade Runner 2049. He's only got a couple scenes, but he comes, delivers some great dialogue, looks very imposing. And yeah, I thought he did well there. And like I said, mentioning Piter, he was played by David, what's his name? David Dust Malchin. He played the Spot in the Suicide Squad, and he looked really cool. But simple look, but again, sci-fi, very Getty Prime, very much there. And it was funny because in this version, compared to the David Lynch Dune, and I think even the sci-fi one, he has, they don't bother over explaining the whole like, this is what our plan is and blah blah blah. So he gets very little dialogue and just kind of like dies. And I was fine with that. You understand? He's like, he's his minion. He's dead. Cool. And then finally, the last person I'll mention, Zendaya, who plays Chani. And I think I saw an interview with her, maybe just a headline of it. Basically, she was like barely on set. She just does some walk-in and stuff like that kind of thing. Not saying that I didn't enjoy her performance. I liked it. I think she's a good cast for this role, and I think if they continue the story, it could work really well. It's just funny because, yeah, she just shows up, says a few lines. She does a lot of walking in different outfits in the desert, and it's like, paycheck cashed. So yeah, that's kind of the main cast, and like I said, I really enjoyed the performances. I really liked the way it was shot with a lot of the characters, because it was just more old school, I guess, in that way, where you spent a lot of time with these characters and feeling what they're feeling. And the movie really focused a lot, compared to other interpretations, on Paul's visions and just what he sees and how it's really messing him up. And so there was a lot of interaction between him and Jessica about that. And I really liked it. It was really intense and a lot of quick cutting a lot of times. And yeah, like I said, because he sees Chani many times before he meets her, right? And it was just like every time, like he's like in the desert and the sand blows past him, and it's just like we get a shot of Chani like walking, and then it's back to him, kind of. And it almost becomes too much. We're like, we get it. you see Chani. But I liked a lot of the other stuff they did. Like there was a really cool part before he meets the Fremen that he's kind of realizing the path and like how things could change depending on his actions and everything. And I really liked it. It was really kind of cool. And like I said, really kind of delved into, because that's sort of the point of the entire series is, prophecy versus fate, and like how you can change things, but can you change things, and going with the course of history and all these kind of ideas and stuff like that. And that's obviously hard to convey in a movie, but I did like the try and the attempt. And again, spoiler stuff here, but the vision that he sees himself fighting Janus in the future, but he also sees him kind of speaking with him and basically talking about like learning desert ways. And then he sees how, he could lose the fight essentially, and losing the fight would create an alternate history and like change the direction kind of a thing. So yeah, I really liked a lot of that. And it was just more in the movie than I thought or was expecting. Yeah, not to harp too much back on the cinematography of it, but it was just so interesting because in a film like this, and it did occur, and I'm not blanket statements here, but I was just thinking, comparatively to like Star Wars or Marvel or say even parts of Lord of the Rings, it all just depends on kind of, but like it didn't go for that. The frame is so dense and there's so much stuff on it. It's like, no, the frame has 3 people sitting in this giant emptied out hollow sand thing, and that's it. And so it was just so different comparatively to many things that we see, that it worked really well for this, because of course this movie it's about a desert. It's about the seas of the sand and the things that are hidden below and that you're not supposed to see. Like, you don't see the Fremen coming. That's the point. You don't see the worms until they burst from the sand, right? So it worked well for this story. I like that a lot. Going back to some of the production design and everything, I thought it was a cool interpretation with the shields, because what they do is, they turn them on and then they kind of have like a blue glow that disappears, but then when it takes impacts, it shows up at like where the impact is and kind of reinforces there, so that area when they get hit, say for example on the arm, their arm glows in a blue. But in the Dune universe, the slow blade penetrates the shield, and so when it starts getting through, it starts turning red. There's some, especially in Jason Momoa's fights, there's some questionable times, I'll say, when the shield is penetrating, where it's like, it doesn't look like he's swinging any slower, but it's not the point. It's about the story and the epic scale and, the fight that he's in. But that's a minor thing. But I did like the kind of the effect. It was really interesting in a couple of the scenes, like when in the main attack scene, and there's like groups of people and they're all fighting and all these shields are just going off all at once. And it adds to the chaos of the battle. So I really liked that a lot. And also, one thing that they did, and this again was kind of from the David Lynch Dune, and but like the voice manipulation that they did for so many of the characters really added to the world. And like Stellan Skarsgård character, his voice was modulated heavily. It still sounded like a natural voice, but it would just like had this weird tone and timbre. And when Paul and Jessica are using the Bene Gesserit voice to manipulate people, it was really cool where the first time they do it, they drop like all sound and you can't hear anything, and then you just hear this booming bass voice like mixed with this weird reverb, and it just, he's like, "Give me the water," and it's just like and that occurs a few times throughout the movie as well, and I just really liked the design of it. It really made you feel the impact of like being manipulated by this weird voice, because it would just come out of nowhere. There was one thing I thought was really interesting, and I thought it was going to have so at Bene Gesserit, I think it's the Bene Gesserit grandmother goes and visits the Baron and Piter, and then she's like, "Hey, activate a cone of silence kind of thing," and then like literally this beam of light surrounds them, and then we can't hear what they're saying. We just get subtitles, like it's very muted. But then it cuts inside, and then we get their voice, and they're still kind of muted, but we can hear them. But I thought that was just such an interesting thing. It's like, again, it's just something like weird that you would do, but it builds to the world and draws you into this, that you're like, whoa, what are these guys talking about? As far as straight adaptation stuff, much of it's stripped out, but the main story is there, the main beats are there, because how could you not? It is what it is. It's Dune. I don't think there's more I can say to praise it. I thought the movie was just amazing. I really enjoyed it. I guess I didn't mention the budget apparently is about $165 million, which is interesting because that's like, it's expensive, of course, duh. But it's not like, it's not in that $200 million range. And I think maybe because, like I was saying, a lot of those frames and a lot of the design is very empty, that it's like you don't need to have to CGI so much, I guess, and not as many elements necessary. Yeah, like this main city of Arrakeen, I wasn't sure if it was a model or not. So again, they could have done some mixtures. That's what I was guessing. I was guessing the main city was a mixture, but like all the elements, like the thopters flying in were probably CG. And then when the attack happens, it's going to be a mixture of CG and model work there for the explosions. But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. So I feel like, the buzz has been really high around this movie. It's so well made that I assume a sequel is going to happen. I just wish it might not be as delayed as it was, unfortunately. And I hope everyone can come back and put their stamp back on this project. So yeah, won't say any more. I'll probably just end up repeating myself a bunch. I enjoyed the heck out of it. Definitely go see it. See it in theater. I assume it would be even better in IMAX, but the IMAX for me is harder to get to. But yeah, definitely check it out. I enjoyed the heck out of this. That's Dune 2021. And if you haven't seen Arrival or Blade Runner 2049 by Villeneuve, definitely check them out. They were some of the best theater-going experiences for me. That and like Annihilation, like I've said before. I think that's all I'll say. So, yeah, you can check us out on our website, tomeofuselessness.com. We're on iTunes and Spotify and hopefully anywhere you can get a podcast. You can always rate and review, share it with your friends. You can send us questions, emails, comments, tomeofuselessness@gmail.com. We have an Instagram as well, which we only really post when we post up episodes. But again, you can contact us through there. I'm the guy who checks the emails. So yeah, drop us a line. Stay safe, and thanks for listening.